PGDM rather is quite a special phase, I think. It's going to be in your life. You learn a lot about how really businesses work in the real world. Sort of what sort of skills you need, different functional areas. Whether you decide to go into marketing, whether you decide to go into accounts, whether you decide to go into finance. Whatever stream you choose, and sometimes you don't choose, you just take the best of what you have and then move along in your career. So I think, but all things considered, I think, this is going to be probably a life-changing sort of few years in your professional career and also in your personal lives. And I think what you're going to learn here is going to really influence, how you sort of evolve as a human being, professionally and personally. My name is Kunal. I am really a scientist by training, but over the last 15 years I've been working in the industry, mostly with pharmaceutical and semiconductor and healthcare artificial intelligence companies. I used to be sort of more focused on the lab side, but then got too bored after a certain period of time and decided to move into more functional client-facing roles, in sales and business development. And the reason I say this is because, a lot of you will often find, various junctures at your career, when you want to make a move from one functional role to another. And, what I want you to realize is, and as the previous speaker spoke about as well, is that, there are really no boundaries. The boundaries that exist are those you set for yourselves, really. And, there's no end to learning. You learn all your life. It's a global sort of world today. There are no boundaries. The sky is the limit, really. So pursue your careers, pursue your dreams, and I hope they come true. So I'm just going to present today on. I was supposed to present on general science and innovation, but I thought that might get a bit boring for a lot of you who are not interested so much in science. So the title of my talk is The Future of Technology. And what's now referred to as Industry 4.0, and I'll tell you why it's Industry 4.0 in a minute. But whatever you do, you're not going to be able to escape, the influence of technology, really, and the increasing influence of technology in your lives. All of us spend hours and hours on the phone, on social media, and everything. So technology is ubiquitous. Technology is moving at a fast pace. Some people are moving faster than others. So we've all got to stay, abreast with technology. And the reason, sort of what I want to drive home to you at this point, I guess, is independent of what sort of industry you're in, independent of what sort of functional role you're in, you will have technology as a big component of what you do at your work, and it will decide, how you perform your tasks. So that's why, I wanted to give an overview of what the future is all about, and what are future technologies, and what's enabling this future. And perhaps, more importantly, for you, as a new cohort in the PGDM program, do you have these skills? Do you have these skills? What skills do you need? What kind of skills do you need really to keep up with, the future, the technology-driven future? And so over the next 15, 20 minutes, do I have like 20 minutes, Saloni, or 20 minutes, 20 minutes, 15 minutes? I'll try to be as quick as possible. I have to be honest, I've sort of plagiarized a lot of YouTube videos, but these are informative YouTube videos, so I hope you'll enjoy it sort of, as I go along through. So, but the main focus is this really. I want you guys to appreciate, through the next set of slides and through the, rest of my talk is, how technology is changing the world. What skills do you have? What skills do you need? And what sort of opportunities technology is opening up? What it's replacing? What traditional industries it's replacing? And how it's replacing these. So, are these lights visible because they seem a bit maybe turn lights off? Or, okay, so I guess this is just a background slide, sort of to give you guys a flavor of what I'm trying to sort of impress upon you. Is we are all sort of living in an era of the fourth industrial revolution. And really, this is a sort of an arbitrary scale. The industrial revolution really started, as in Europe in the 1800s. And that was driven by the sort of, you could say by the discovery of able to convert steam into energy. So you have the steam engines moving, moving across the world, laying new tracks and opening up, new avenues of commerce. The stock exchange of Amsterdam, for example, was set up right after steam engine moved into the Netherlands. So, the ability to communicate and to move along, you're living in sort of the era of social media, so, you already understand, the importance of communication in everyday life. But, transportation, communication, for people to move back and forth and, unrestricted, opens up new ways of doing business. And that's what, the first industrial revolution really enabled, new enterprise, new industries, all because, on the back of the discovery of the steam engine. So that's what sort of, academically, I guess, is referred to as the first industrial revolution. The second industrial revolution really came along with the invention of electricity, like moving on from just having engines to be actually able to use like something like coal, for example, to have electricity. And this was in the 1900s. And obviously this opened up, I would say another new phase or a new generation, a remarkable time really, when, you and me today can't even, imagine living without electricity, for example, So you just realize, what a big transformation that must have been in the 19th century to have that. So that was the second industrial revolution. The third industrial revolution is really driven by computing, the ability to compute. And this all started really after the Second World War, really in the 1970s and 80s. And, this allowed human beings to become more intelligent and become more efficient. And that's, the third industrial revolution. Really, I feel that it's not really 1900s, but it should be something like 1970s, 80s, really when computers first came into advent, really. And finally, what we're looking at today, what you're looking at today is, what was referred to as the fourth industrial revolution. In the fourth industrial revolution, you're moving a step further where, human beings are not really becoming more efficient by the use of computers and everything else, but machines are becoming more intelligent. Machines are able to think for themselves. Machines are able to communicate with themselves. Machines are able to sort of, run whole industries, whole plants by themselves. And that's what really is the fourth industrial revolution. And that's the kind of, environment where a lot of you will be entering the workforce tomorrow. You'll be entering a workforce where, you'll be competing with machines. You'll be competing with machines. You'll be expected to run machines, and pretty much, there'll be machines everywhere. So, that's, so I want to just give you a flavor of what is enabling this work. What are the sort of, the key, sort of, the basic infrastructure facilitators, and how you really need to think, in any business, whether it be construction, fashion, semiconductors, healthcare, whatever business you're in, you'll surely find, some major impact of technology in the way you work, or in the way you conduct, your professional life. So, yeah, I just wanted to sort of, give you a flavor of how rapidly really the world is changing by, just these set of slides about Apple, This is a early 1980s Apple, All you could do with, is just make some, punch some numbers, get an answer, just do very basic tasks. There was nothing called memory, You couldn't even send, you could send a Snapchat picture, for example, you had nothing. You could just do some computations. And this was not too far back, this was after I was born, in the 1980s. And the computer kept evolving. Yeah, this was 1985, 86, when all you could do, all the memory you had on a whole computer was even smaller than, one image. One image we have today is about 4-5 megabytes. This was 64 kilobytes, That's all you could do on a computer. You could only save 64 kilobytes of information, and you could only process 64 kilobytes of information. So the transition really that's taken place, in a couple of decades is really remarkable, and I'm just trying to show you this evolution. This used to be a very popular sort of, a lot of sort of, executives would like to sort of show off this device. It's called the Scion PDA. As you can see, it's still very basic, and this is in the 1990s, really, late 80s and 90s. It's still quite basic, It's just got an LCD display, just some keypads. You could just save, what meetings I have for the day, do some calculations, perhaps like save your menu for dinner or something like that, but you couldn't do much. And then, technology really accelerated to another pace in the 1990s, when, I don't know, how many of you have ever seen this device? Have you ever seen this device? It's called, it's called an iPod, and this was just 15, 20 years back, all you could do with your hands, or have it in your hands was, just listen to some music, maybe save, 1,000 songs, and just scroll through them. That's what you had in your hand, that's all you could do. And then it moved from, that to like a display-based device where you could maybe see, see the singer, see a video or his video maybe. But that was it, 1,000 songs maybe. Oh, sorry. I think maybe I don't have much. But I mean, and just think that you're now seeing the iPhone. So you can imagine the kind of transition that has taken place. And I guess if you look back at your own lives, I guess you guys were like well, toddlers or teens perhaps when some of this has been going on, but you're all very familiar with smartphones now. And I think at some point maybe today you want to go back and think about your own life, in the last 10 years and how it's changed, just because of how much technology has changed. And this is going to have a much bigger influence, in your professional lives. You're all mostly in your 20s, I guess. So by the time you're 40, 50, it's sometimes even scary to imagine the kind of dependence that we'll have maybe on technology. But you can't control it. Technology is moving faster than us. Technology is moving faster than governments can't regulate. Governments can't regulate fast enough to control the growth of technology. For good or bad, but that's the way it is. Industry is going to drive technology, and technology is going to control our lives. And unfortunately or fortunately, policy, government, other institutions of society are so far behind that they're not going to be able to dictate what technology tells you. Technology is going to dictate to them, how we live our lives. That's the reality of the next 20 years. Unless something drastically changes. And what's interesting is that I had this title as "It's All in the Sand," is because as you know that a lot of this comes from computation, from semiconductor chips. And what are semiconductor chips really? Semiconductor chips, which are really the brains. You can imagine, you have the iPhone today that's so small and it's doing all these computations. And all these computations, as you know, are happening inside these microchips, right? And microchips, come out of nothing but silicon. It's basically taking sand, turning it into a wafer of silicon dioxide, and then making a lot of memory circuits as you have in your brain, for either saving data or for making some calculations. I guess a lot of you might know, like, semiconductors, like PN-type semiconductors, for those who have studied science. That's all that's happening, on an iPhone. You have these small chips, really tiny ones, but they're doing like billions and billions of calculations. Almost if you put the head of the 8 billion people on Earth today, that sort of computation can actually be put down in just one chip. So one computer can calculate and remember more than all of mankind almost today. So that's the sort of challenges we are faced with. And yeah, so that's just to show you, this is at the heart of it. And I'm going to talk a bit about semiconductors because semiconductors really sort of this one industry that really is like sort of oil or gold of the yesteryears. And so that's what is there in an iPhone, it's an A15 processor, I guess. And yeah, so if you look at what's going on today, things are moving so fast that now actually each calculation or each computation you could say inside your iPhone or your Samsung is actually taking place at a couple of nanometers. I don't know how many of you really can envisage, even I can't at most times, what a nanometer is. But just to give you a sort of flavor of it, that's one strand of your hair. That's one strand of your hair. That's in microns. And the calculations that are going on inside in an advanced smartphone today is in a couple of nanometers. So there are like small transistors like this, that are about thousands of 10,000 times smaller than just the strand of your hair. They are doing these incredible calculations. So as you can imagine, the countries who control or who have the technology. And really, there are two tiny countries in the world. If you look at the global map, you will probably not be able to even find these countries. So there's just two small countries. One is the Netherlands and the other is Taiwan. Netherlands makes all the machines that make chips, and Taiwan is actually the country that makes chips. And these countries have such huge power over the, over global business today, over global trade today. It's quite astonishing because, at the end of the day, what's their population? Their population is less than the population of Delhi. But they have like such huge control over over global business simply because they have control over the silicon supply chain. They make chips. Nobody else can. Taiwan makes about 80 to 90% of the chips in this world. Netherlands makes 100% of the machines that can make these chips. No other country can even make it. Let alone no other country, no other company can make it. So you can imagine the kind of I would say the privileged position that these countries have carved out for themselves, that even in the next 50, 60 years, the rest of the world is not going to be able to catch up with them, and that is what, you've got to remember when you're in business, is that, and I think the previous previous speaker mentioned as well, is, you've got to stay humble, you've got to understand the competition, you've got to understand who you're up against, because often you can end up underestimating your competition and hence overestimating yourself. So you really got to remember, what we're facing today, the world we're living in, be aware of it, who are the leaders, who are not, and what it will take for you to get there, As they say, you put your money where your mouth is, it's easy to say stuff, but, when money is concerned, that's when, reality hits you quite hard and quite soon. So, I just wanted to give you a flavor of, the countries that are in the lead, the countries that will probably sort of, stay in the lead because they have such huge control over semicon and things like that. And, I just wanted to, of course, talk about India as well in its journey in semiconductors. So I hope I've managed to impress upon you that, semiconductors really what, a lot of the future is all about. Everything has competition inside it, whatever industry you're in, you're going to sort of, have, everything has chips inside them. If you look around, the stuff you use, all your gadgets, everything has chips. So, India, of course, has come on board, quite late in the game, maybe like already. Yeah, India's come quite late in this game. It's not India's first attempt, of course. India's tried to sort of get in the semiconductor game since the 1990s. But as I said, it's a global world. At the end of the day, businesses move towards countries, that offer them the best deals, that offer the best infrastructure, that offer the best environment for them to do business. Of course, policy can enable it, and I think that's what the Indian government is trying to do now. Is trying to get, semicon back to finally in India. And, maybe, some of yourselves, and most of this India semiconductor activity is focused around in the Gujarat region in a place called Dholera. And, maybe many of you will find, your future employment in a semiconductor company maybe, and be working, in a place like Dholera. But, there are currently like about 2 or 3 Indian companies, working mostly with, in joint venture mode sort of thing to make chips. But, I just want to sort of, give you a comparison as well. India started its chip manufacturing mission in 2022. America had, a CHIPS Act, what's called the CHIPS Act, to bring chips back to America at the same time. All right? In India, we just have sort of, just early progress. But look at what they have already by 2024 in Arizona. They already have the plant ready to make the chips. So that's 2 years. That's 2 years in their industry and 2 years in our industry. So, these are things that, you've got to think about, when you're really considering, being globally competitive, understanding, what others do. To know yourself, you've often got to know others first, and what sort of things they do to be able to understand, where you want to go. Yeah, so I guess, are we able to play this YouTube videos now, or is it already too late?
Try to play the video.
How many more minutes do I have?
Like 2, 3.
Okay, so I'll just play this video. So unfortunately, for those who are interested, you can look into the sort of, connect with me after this session, and I can talk you through the rest of my presentation. Unfortunately, I've already taken up enough time. But I just want to give you a flavor of, what the future factory might look like.
Heavy-duty pickup trucks.
And this is what you'll be doing.
Automation is being integrated in everything across our plant.
Digital manufacturing technology maybe isn't a household word for you now, but it will be in the future.
Well, it's changing everything we do, So these are new skills that you need to get, in a college like U of M Flint.
What we have here is high technology, great job opportunities, fantastic careers, and we need people to contribute to that.
So this is a new challenge. It's not your traditional 8 to 5, it's you're programming something, you're looking at data.
We have a miniature brain robot. It's the same company that had the robot out on the floor. We're going to help them understand how to run that robot so that when they go to a facility, they just see a larger robot. But it's the same ideas. It's being controlled in the same manner.
We're always going to look for people with this degree because we're going to continue to grow to be a world-class manufacturing facility, and we're going to need people that work on everything that has to do with this automation.
The reasons we need great partnerships, partners like we have here with Lear, is that they help guide us in understanding what it is that's going to be useful in the future. So this is a factor in the future, but it's going to even change, and we want to be there with them.
I am a graduate of the University of Michigan Flint. I started in this brand new facility on the footprint of General Motors Buick City. This was a manufacturing city, and what Lear is trying to do is build back up Flint to its prestigious level of what it used to be.
Digital manufacturing technology
I guess
is
it's
going to
not
transition to
really-
a new type of career that we can help you prepare for.
So yeah, you know, that's what the future of how medicines will be made, you know. And have a look at that video. You know, the future medicine will be printed, you know, just like we print paper today, you know, we take printouts. In the future, that's how, you know, medicines will be made. Just have a look at that slide. In many hospitals, you know, in many hospitals in Singapore, for example, this is on trial, you know. So you can imagine, you know, when you go to a doctor, you know, they'll give this like big prescription, especially, you know, if you have some serious disease or if you have lifestyle disease, you know, which requires you to, like diabetes or something, you know, that requires you to take medication all the time, you know, every 6 hours or something. You know, you won't have these long prescriptions anymore, you know. You can, you know, for example, if you need to take like 5 or 6 pills together, you know, for diabetes, you know, various chronic conditions, perhaps a heart disease or something. You know, you won't really need to have those 6 pills anymore. You know, they can all be printed on just one pill itself and customized to your needs. You know, you won't need to break a pill and have half a dose or something like that. You know, whatever you want, you just go to the doctor assesses you, and then they decide your medication and just print it out and give it to you. You know, and this is what the future is. You know, so all hospitals, you know, some of you will work in healthcare with hospitals, you know, with medical insurance, you know, all these sectors. And now you can play the other video maybe. Yeah, another video. You know, and this video is actually from another company, you know, but it'll show you know how even more. No, इसके आगे वाला. नहीं, आगे मतलब पीछे सर. नहीं, next वाला. हाँ, ये जो सामने दिख रहा है ना जो वो वाला वीडियो चल रहा है. Next one. No, not this next one. You can just click enter again. So. Exactly. I want to play this video. Yeah, look at this video. You know, even more complex pills are being made. You know, like 4 or 5 different type of medicines being printed on just one pill. Of the future will look very different, you know. वहाँ पे मतलब you know you won't have these dabbas of medicine everywhere, you know. You just have some printers, maybe, you know. And whatever you know prescription a particular patient comes up with, you know, the pharmacist will just print out those medicine and give you your customized tailored print, you know. If after a week you're getting better and you need to change your dosage, he'll just print out a different pill for you, you know. So you can imagine the kind of transformation this will bring, you know, to how you know you don't have to supply, you know, you don't have to bring you know. You know, boxes and boxes and, you know, like truckloads of medicine from one part of the country to other where they are, customers, you can just print them there. And this is true not just for medicine, it's true for automobiles, If your part breaks down, for example, you have like some sort of failure in your car, you have to wait for the part to come from the factory maybe, in stores of the future, your car showroom will have a printer, you just say that, okay, I need a replacement exhaust, they'll print out the exhaust and give it to you, So you can imagine how this is going to change business, it's going to change, everything the way you do. And finally, I just wanted to end with like a more cool application, and we have this also of 3D printing, when you'll find next wala slide, next wala video, sorry, इसके ऊपर और एक embedded video है इसके ऊपर, overlaid है. हाँ, अभी आप इसको play कर सकते हैं. And this is how people are making sort of 3D printed fashion. You can decide, you can just have a printer at home and decide today I want to wear like a pink skirt or a green pant or something, and you can just print it out at home. And this is not something very futuristic. This is happening. And I just wanted you to have a look at that video and that give you an idea of what it is like. But yeah, please have a look at this video.
My name is Denik Perek. I just graduated from Chicago College of Design. I wanted to create a ready-to-wear collection printed
She's printing out her wardrobe at home every day.
using printers that anyone can get. I've spent the past year searching for the best solution. I worked with leading experts in the field.
You can design it and then you can print it and wear it.
I really like the result. It looks a little bit like lace. And it moves beautifully.
That's another fantastic application. In the future, in Zara or wherever you go for your clothes, they might have just printers, and you just got to come with your own design. Maybe you come with your own design on the phone and say, okay, I've seen the celebrity wearing this or influencer, whatever, and I want this printed for me, and they'll print it out and give it to you. There'll be no wastage because once you're done with the dress, you can just give it back to them. They'll put it back in the printer and print it for somebody else. So that's the kind of future we're looking at, and it's technologies like 3D printing, AI, semicon that are driving this future. And I hope many of you will be interested in working in industries that are employing the future of technology for us.